Odor's at second, Solak in center, Calhoun DH, Chirinos, Ref Snyder in left.
Woody, yesterday you talked about, kind of owning the moment and it being a pivotal one for you guys to start out the homestand the way you did last night. How do you kind of ride that momentum into today?
Yeah, you hope it carries over. There's a lot of little things that we accomplished yesterday. I think from a bullpen standpoint, you're seeing some of these guys get put in spots and being able to succeed and get through them. I still think offensively, like we just got to obviously we got to keep grinding, but hopefully we break through one of these games where we just get the big hit. Because all these games, you look at all our games have been close. I expect that to be the case. We kind of knew that our pitching was going to be decent, so we've obviously had some injuries, but every game we played, is aside from a couple, have been really close. So the more experience we're getting in these games, and the more we kind of create a little bit of momentum in any way we possibly can, I think offensively will help. And then once somebody a few guys come through in some big spots, maybe break some games open, I think it'll really help, kind of relieve that. I don't know if it's tension or just, because the thing is we're relying on a lot of pivotal moments in games. So the more we can obviously hopefully win some of those games while getting through them like we did yesterday will really help us in the long run.
How are you continuing to, obviously it would be nice if you just had the lineup card filled out every day, everybody was crushing, everybody's situated in their roles. That's obviously not the case. It's probably not the case for many teams at this point in time. What are your thought processes when you make up that lineup card every day?
Battling I know consistency matters, so I don't want to fiddle with it too much. As far as I know that psychologically speaking, from a hitter standpoint, like knowing that you're going to be in there every day helps. Getting consistent reps helps, but we just don't have the luxury of doing that, obviously. And I know Chu's been giving us good at bats. I'll have him in there tomorrow against the lefty, but felt today was a better, Willie's had a lot of success against this guy. So trying to figure out the right balance without tweaking it too much to where it gets a little, sometimes it creates more chaos than, consistency. I think I'm always trying to battle that, but obviously there's so much urgency right now that, I can't afford to just kind of ride things out like I normally would. So that's kind of what I'm battling every day, but our guys have been great. There's been no complaining, no issues on that part. Everybody comes to the field every day expecting to help win a game, whether they're in their lineup or not. We got a really prepared group, which puts my mind at ease to know that if I flip the lineup, they're gonna give you at least good energy and good quality at bat. That's what we're expecting.
Outside of his family, I don't know that anyone on the planet loves Rougned Odor more than I do. But where are you with him? Where are the conversations with him? He's such a hot button issue, or topic, I should say, not issue. But it just seems like the urgency's there with him, and we've seen it, from season to season. What are your conversations like with him at this point in time in these unique circumstances?
Yeah, he's. I know that the results aren't there. And there's a few things that are, just looking at numbers are a little troubling because I want him to succeed. We need him to succeed. He's in a good place, so hitting is so fragile of confidence. I know Rugi believes he's the best player on the planet, but we need to see obviously better results on the field. So it's a fragile thing. I don't want to break his spirit, but at the same time, he needs to control the strike zone. There's some things he needs to do better, and I thought yesterday. There was a few pitches that kind of changed the outcome, and they were early in counts. So it was the early chase led to a 3-2. Maybe it was a ball, maybe it wasn't. Take for strike three, where that bat could have been a lot different from the beginning. If he controlled the strike zone early. So I don't want to lose his aggressiveness because he feels like he's in a good spot, but we need to see more, and he knows that. I think he understands. He puts a lot of pressure on himself, but right now we need Rugi to kind of, hopefully take that next step and start having some really positive results for us because we need it as a team.
Thanks, buddy.
Other questions, please, Evan.
So I'll play off of that, and as you know, I like to be devil's advocate, but Chu's not been facing left-handers. He hasn't had success against lefties. The numbers going back to last year aren't great. but Rugy's in there against lefties. Is there any thought at this point in time to, I know you hate the word platoon, but is there any thought to potentially like changing that up at least against left-handers?
No, because I think it's the opposite. Like, listen, if Rugy continues to struggle and doesn't hit balls hard, then yeah, I mean, I'll have to make a change at some point. But he's had success against lefties. That's the thing. That's the difference. There's a track record there, and I know it's not as much as Chu's. And listen, I've challenged Chu. I've challenged him to prove the numbers wrong. That was my challenge to him. And he's going to be starting against Haney tomorrow, who he's had success with. I like where Chu's at. Today I almost put him in there. But I felt like the quality that Ref Snyder's been giving us from the right side against lefties. We need that right now. We need that in the lineup. So Rugy's, I hate to say it, short leash, but against lefties, I might platoon him against lefties. The opposite, because he's kind of a reverse guy. He's like almost a reverse split guy, where he's actually hit lefties better. For whatever reason, I think it's just the way the shape of the pitch works. But yeah, I mean, it's not. I'm definitely not thinking long term. I'm thinking more in the short term right now. Like, we need production. And I like where Rugy's at, but he needs to be more productive.
How much of a challenge is it right now for you to put together lineups against left-handers? I mean, it seems like you're trying a lot of different combinations.
Yeah, I am. I'm trying to see what the right the right mix is. Where Kiner's at right now, that's why I moved him up there. He's one of our best hitters. Like, he's hitting the ball hard every single time he gets up there, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that can not only control the strike zone, but when they get strikes, they're putting it forward hard. And as a group, I think we've dug into some numbers. As a group, we've hit the ball hard. We've been really unlucky. Based on some of the numbers I'm looking at, our BABIP's really low. Something's going to give at some point. We can't keep this up as far as being unlucky, but we got to continue pushing forward. So whatever that right mix is, I'm going to keep trying to find it without, like I said, pulling for too many straws at too many different ways and messing with making it more chaotic than it is consistent. So I just want quality at bats, and you guys know I've said that many times, and our players understand that that's what I'm looking for. So when it comes to Chu, I've really challenged him against lefties. Anytime he gets in there, he had a good at bat against one yesterday. Hit a ball hard to left. He hit a ball hard the other day in Oakland. So what I'm seeing is better. So there may come a point where I just say, what, we're rolling with Chu the whole way. And I hope that's the case, because we need him. Like, he's a big part of our offense.
Great. Thanks, sir.
Next question, please. TR.
So Woodward, what is going on with Joe Colombo, please, sir?
He's got some, stomach issues. He's got, I believe, ulcerative colitis. So it's pretty major flare-up going on right now. He's not in a good spot. He doesn't feel great. We're trying to figure out what it is, whether it's something he's eating or, but he's just not in a good place. We talked to him about it yesterday. He doesn't feel great. He didn't feel good today. So we're trying to just kind of regulate it, get it calmed down, so that way when he comes off the IL, hopefully he can be ready to pitch for us. Because as of right now, it'd be really tough to ask him to go out there, if he was on our roster.
You guys, we've talked about needing starting pitching depth, and your alternate camp guys, Jono and Matt, said the other day that Wes Benjamin is now appears to be like your first line of defense. Is that correct?
I would think so. Yeah, he's been really good. Yeah, he's probably the most stretched out guy right now. Yeah.
What do you remember seeing about him?
I was really impressed in spring training this year. We brought him over, I think, last year. Didn't really know much about him. I just know this year we brought him over, and he had to, he's kind of a backup, to the game, and we put him in there, and it was strike with plus stuff that I was like, okay, this guy's intriguing. Like, what do we got? And I didn't know much about him. Obviously, I'd heard about him, but it kind of started a conversation about how much this guy's improved. Just with his, he just seemed like an average lefty, for a while, but his stuff has played up. He's worked really hard. What I saw at camp was, I'm looking on the board thinking, okay, these are 93, 94 from the left side, with plus stuff, plus curveball, elite command, and he attacks hitters. So he's made himself kind of put himself on the radar by a lot of the work he's done, and I trust him to go in there. I mean, I would trust to put him in there and throw strikes. It's a cool story, and I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but I think we're going to need him at some point.
How concerned are you, my last question, how concerned are you, all these things, Paul's had a lot of stuff, blisters, heel, now this, how concerned are you about this continuing to back him up in his development?
Yeah, it has backed him up a little bit, and I feel bad for him because they're not typical issues. They're not elbow, shoulder, typical things you would see from a pitcher. You know, you got a blister, you got stomach issues, you got heel. I mean, weird kind of circumstances. So hopefully that it doesn't continue that trend. Hopefully these are just kind of anomalies, and you can get away with them, and they're in the past. Obviously, this stomach issue is something he's going to have to deal with. It's not going away, so he's got to find a way to regulate it and keep it at bay. But yeah, it definitely has, you know, pushed his development back a little bit because, you know, he's got a pretty high ceiling, and we all think he can be something pretty good for us. Hopefully, he just gets through this, and it's in the past.
Next question, Chris.
On a housekeeping one and then another one on the bullpen. First, can you provide an update on Greg Bird and Dina Santana and their way back from their stint on the injured list?
Yeah, Birdie seems like he's in a good spot. I saw him running around yesterday. I'm not sure, you know, if he feels anything. He said he felt pretty good yesterday. Felt like he would almost be able to play. So that's encouraging. Danny, you know, took some live at bats today. Looked really good. Throwing wise, I watched him throw. It's getting better. He feels like he can, you know, he's not as concerned when he starts to play catch. He's not 100% throwing, obviously, and I wouldn't put him in a game anywhere on defense just run the risk of him having to make a hard throw. It's still kind of iffy on that, but he's progressing better maybe than I anticipated. I know he can come off tomorrow. We're going to make a decision to see if it makes sense. If it's only a DH and he can't play the field, I don't know if we'll activate him right away, but you know, he's been getting at bats and he feels good physically. So I think he's still 2 or 3 days away from maybe throwing to where we would feel comfortable even putting him at first base.
Bullpen, obviously, you know, Hernandez and Montero did well in the 8th and 9th inning. I guess this is my knee-jerk reaction question. Is that your new 8th and 9th inning combo?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's, you know, yeah. I mean, you see what Montero did last night, that, you know, the command, the stuff. You know, he obviously added a sinker that Trout didn't know he had. Yeah, it's those two guys have, you know, Jonathan's proven that he can handle that spot. Yesterday, he actually had to get out of a pretty significant jam in the 7th inning and then came back out, you know, reset things and punched out the side. So those two guys are definitely our 8-9 guys.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Levi?
So a quick follow-up on Palumbo. I mean, we knew Kyle Gibson had ulcerative colitis. I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I don't think I knew that Joe Palumbo had ulcerative colitis. Is this a new diagnosis?
No, it's just the first time it's been a flare-up. I think he said he was diagnosed in 2016, which is kind of far back, but he's never had any issues with it. To just recently, I think it was during the quarantine is when he started to feel some symptoms and started to deal with some issues with it. And then this week has been really bad. Like, it hasn't been good at all.
My next question was about, we talked the other day about the way that tags at second base had changed in the last few years. Watching those slides last night from Kiner-Falefa and Chu, has the way that base runners, the way that they slide, has that also changed as a result of all of this?
Absolutely. No, yeah. Yesterday was more of a slip. You know, the I guess where the base was, and the base was actually kind of slick because it was wet, and that's why they didn't slow down. You know, I mean, it sucks for us because it's our home field, and it actually ended up hurting us because, you know, they just kept going. They couldn't stop. But yeah, I mean, you have to make sure when you slide nowadays. You know, you look at the old videos of, you know, Jackie Robinson sliding into third base with the powder, you know, bunch of dust. I don't have it anymore because if you come off the bag, you're out. You know, I mean, we're talking about like this much and you're out. And that's what happened yesterday, and it was unfortunate because, you know, I've personally, since replay has started, been witness to losing some games because a guy hits a leadoff double and he slides in, pops up, and the tag is still on him, and he literally comes off the bag by a millimeter, and he's out. So those kind of things you have to be aware of it as a base runner to stay on the base.
So in trying to prevent a slight pop-up, are runners more likely to now go past the bag by accident if in a situation where it's slick or whatever, or is that just...
No, I don't think so. I think most of the time they slide, if they slide feet first, they just slide in and, not pop up, but keep their foot engaged with the base.
Right.
And it actually stops you. It's a pop-up slide, but you keep your foot engaged with the base. I think last night was a situation where it was slicker than they thought. So when they just didn't slow down. Most of the time the dirt grabs you and you slow down. So where they started their slide, maybe in hindsight they can start it a little earlier if they knew it was going to be slick like that. They just had too much momentum past the bag.
Do you think there's a need for a slight tweak of those rules where it plays more true to the original intent?
I've had debates about it where if you beat the play and you actually go past the bag or you're over the base, because I've seen where a guy slides head first and he hits the base with his hands and right about past the bag his chest is over the bag. He's literally on the bag, but it's like there's this much space between the for a split second, and I've seen that called out. And so I don't know, if you slide all the way past the bag, maybe you should be called out. But if you're actually over the base, maybe there should be some sort of rule where it's like we can't, just because you're a millimeter off the base, you should, I don't know. It opens up a whole other debate that I think is too many cans of worms there. You know what I mean?
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, last question, Evan.
I kind of agree with you on this rule thing, just because I know you care what I think.
Do I?
Is there any chance that you skip minor this next time around? You've got an off day in there. If you wanted to try and give him a little rest, you could.
We've talked about that. We talked about it with him. He wants to pitch, and I think it's just going to be more of a shortened start than skipping him. He really wants to go out there. He feels like if he goes out, he can kind of battle through it. And like I said, maybe limit the start a little bit to where he's more effective for the 3 or 4 innings. I think he wants to do that instead of just taking the start off because he feels fine. It's not like he feels like he needs to rest an injury or anything like that. He just needs to push through it, and he wants to push through it. So I think we're going to honor that.
So just kind of almost like a piggyback start, like maybe one trip through the lineup or something like that?
Some, yeah.
I think that's it because John's going to yell if I ask another question. So.
You got one more, go ahead.
Wow. He's in a good mood today.
Very generous today. You guys have been aggressive on the base pass. Is that simply part of the style you want to play when you talk about pressuring pitchers, or has that been more right now to just try and get something started?
No, I think it would regardless of whether we were. Now, listen, if we were smashing baseballs all over the ballpark, we would be less likely to be pushing it on the bases. If there's a risk there. The one thing, when we take risks, they're calculated risks, and anytime our guys steal, it's based on information, times, and knowing like, okay, we know this guy doesn't throw well. We know this, we know the situation makes sense. And I don't want to stop that. I want to make sure our guys, anytime we have an advantage in any way, we take advantage of it. And that puts pressure on guys, and teams know that. That's why I say I don't care if they know that. I would prefer them to know that. Keep us at first base, takes less, less of their energy goes towards the hitter. Our hitters are benefit from that. So that's the ultimate goal. Now they're going to be stuck with the dilemma, like, do we attack the hitter and forget about the runner, or do we worry about the runner and less on the hitter? I want them to think that. So, I want their mind to be thinking, okay, these guys are going to go every pitch. Because, I know how pitchers are. There's only a few elite pitchers that can constantly execute over and over again while worrying about a runner. These guys have a hard time just executing anyways, but if you have pressure on the bases as well. The last thing I want is for our base runner to get at first base and say, I'm not going. I don't feel good. I'm not going. And the other team to know that.
It seemed to me yesterday that you clearly put it in Canning's mind because I don't understand why you would throw behind the catcher at second base in that situation. unless it's firmly in your mind that this team's going to try and be
Absolutely.
aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen it crumble the best pitchers at times. Billy Hamilton gets on first base in a 5-run game, and all of a sudden they give up a 3 spot, and you're like, why are you worried about one base runner? But that's just the nature of obviously pitchers, and they don't want to give up runs. So anytime there's a threat on the bases, it's high alert, and then all of a sudden they throw a ball down the middle and the guy hits a homer. Like, why are you worried about that guy? So that's something that obviously I wanted to do from day one when I got here, and we're doing it. Our guys obviously bought into it, and they're using information. They're doing everything we've asked. Now we just got to take advantage of the at bats, because we've obviously created the pressure.
Ready, Emily? You ready, Emily?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What are your talks coming into this homestand about, it being pivotal, finding ways to win? They haven't come easy the last 2 nights, but they've come nonetheless, right?
Right. No, that you said it best. That's the best way to put it. I don't care how we win a game right now, as long as we do. And obviously we didn't hit the ball very good today, and we hit a lot of ground balls. But credit to their guy. He actually did command the baseball pretty well. He kept throwing his changeup, which got us out in front. But honestly, what Kobe and our pitching staff did today was spectacular. That's a pretty good lineup over there. And Kobe, not surprising, did what he does. He attacked. He used all his pitches. He used that breaking ball, which he has worked really hard on. It's kind of the difference maker at times because it keeps him off of his cutter and his fastball. But when you got that attack mentality, good things typically happen. And the way Volquez, Chavi, Jolie, got a huge punch out right there. And these are the moments where guys only pitched once for us. They're pivotal for him in coming in and contributing. He could have easily kind of walked Trout there, didn't give in, executed a pitch. And then Jabot, one of our younger guys, comes in a huge spot and punches out Rendon, and then Montero with a perfect ninth. So overall, awesome job by our pitching staff and Joey with the big hit.
Can you, when you look at Montero, I mean, it's 2 situations, right, that you've put him in and he's thrived, but can you tell, they always hear that closers have to have a different mentality. They've got to be wired a little differently. Is it too early to tell that? I mean, the early returns seem pretty good. But what are you seeing from him in that whole wired differently department?
Yeah, we saw it last year. I think when when we first brought him, when we first saw him throw, we just noticed there was a little bit of a lot of calmness to him. He seemed like he had no heartbeat in any situation. He pretty much earned the 7th, 8th inning spot, 8th inning spot right away. And that's when my eyes kind of widened and said, okay, he's facing some of the best hitters in baseball and doesn't really. He's almost yawning out there, and he's able to execute, in big spots. And that's when I kind of realized, okay, this guy's got the mentality to be able to do it. And one situation last year, he gave up a homer to, I believe it was Meadows, maybe against Tampa Bay. And the next day, I didn't put him in the 8th inning, and he wanted to pitch that day. He desperately wanted to get back on the mound to pitch and it was the same spot in the order. I just didn't want to use him because I didn't want to hurt his arm. But that killer mentality, he's like, no, I want to go right back out there. Showed me a lot last year, so we knew he had it in him.
And then one more thing for me, we talked about Rudy before the game. It seemed like his emotions kind of spilled over tonight and frustration. What are you seeing? What did you see from him tonight? Was anything different? And did you talk to him after he had that display, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. Listen, I know frustration. Sometimes you got to let it out. I'm not. I know there's times, there's no fans, so you probably hear more than you'll ever hear. That stuff happens all the time. Sometimes you got to let some of those things out. He's trying so hard. I've done it. Every player's done it. Some guys do it more often than they should. But Rugi's earned the right to do that right now. He's putting in the work. What people don't understand is what he's doing inside. He still needs to be more productive, but I do trust that he's putting in the right work to, I told him today, I said, hopefully he came over after his last at bat, and kind of stood next to me. I said, maybe it's just going to take one time where you put a ball forward hard that you feel like, okay, that's going to kind of, take a little load off. Maybe it's a homer, maybe it's a hit, maybe it's an out. I don't know. We'll see.
That's it for me. And for the record, I've done it in my kitchen. So
I think we all have.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to put that out there.
Questions,
I'm done.
Okay, let's go to Evan.
Housekeeping first. What's up with Nick Goody?
He's got some lower back stiffness, tightness. It hasn't really improved in the last couple of days, so that's why we've obviously stayed away from him. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I know he's taken some medication, so hopefully that'll help to alleviate the pain. I'm hoping he'll be better by tomorrow. We'll see. We'll evaluate him when he gets in tomorrow.
I'm guessing that ideally, what did you like about the idea of Joely in that situation, because you knew he was going to face Trout?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, look, Trout is a low ball hitter. I felt like what I saw the other day. They haven't seen him, first of all. I think that that unfamiliarity sometimes works in your favor. The ability to kind of sink it, get underneath his barrel a little bit. And I know Trout is a low ball hitter, but I felt like if Joely executed some pitches, he wouldn't. He'd keep the ball in the ballpark. Ended up striking him out looking, which was a heck of a pitch considering the situation. But I've liked that matchup since the series started, and obviously it worked out tonight to put him in that spot.
When he goes 3-0 on him, any thought there to just let him have the base, because odds are that not good things are going to happen?
No. I mean, it's we're still up 2. They have some pretty good guys coming behind them. Like I said, I think Joely's ball moves so much that it's not only hard to catch it sometimes, but it's hard to hit it. So the idea of him squaring up a baseball and hitting it out, I know it's Mike Trout, but you also had Rendon, Ohtani on deck or behind him. So there's threats everywhere. I feel like if we do that on purpose, it just it not only sends a bad message to Joely, like he can't get him out, but he's got to be able to throw the ball to plate and maybe get a ground ball there, and obviously you got to punch out.
Let's go to TR, please.
Chris, what was the pregame discussion about Joey Gallo and his wrist? Was there any discussion about him may not be able to play? We really didn't cover that pregame.
Yeah, I told him to text me in the morning to see how it felt. He said it felt better yesterday at the end of the day. Still not good enough to obviously swing like he wanted, but he texted me in the morning and said I'm good to go. So that was enough for me. Clearly it was a good call getting him in there because he won the game for us.
Obviously, but did you see in his first 2 at-bats anything encouraging or discouraging or that 6th inning at bat?
No, I mean, I watched him take batting practice, and it seemed fine. I talked to him after batting practice, and he said he felt normal, felt good, felt strong, didn't feel any weakness there. So I wasn't really concerned, and nothing in the first couple of bats led me to believe anything was different.
Okay, let's take a couple more. What else? Go to Steven, and then we'll go to Paul Jones.
What did you talk about the idea that Edson Volquez, I mean, it's been 3 years since he got a big league win. It's been, I guess, 13 years since he got a win for Texas. Just talk about, having him out there and him getting that win.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's pretty neat to hear that. Volke, after his last outing, he felt obviously bad about the outing in Oakland. I've been wanting to get him back in there, trying to be careful of what situation we put him in. Tonight seemed like the right time, especially where they were in the lineup, and I felt like they were good matchups for him. We kind of had that area circled in their lineup, and he went out and threw well. He did a good job.
Paul, go ahead.
Actually, John, I just chatted with you saying that TR asked my question, so no offense, Chris, but I've already got my answer from you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, no problem. Levi and then Evan.
I was just curious your thoughts on Colby Allard's performance tonight. It seemed like he was maybe filled a spot that Corey Kluber left, right?
Yeah. No, he's when Kluber went down, we felt pretty confident and comfortable. Obviously with Joe and him, that whoever stepped in that role would be able to do well for us. So Colby's kind of done what we expected, honestly. Attack the strike zone, use all his pitches. And like I said, with that curveball, it kind of, when he has that curveball and maybe that changeup at times, it just changes what the hitters are looking for. Sometimes he can, kind of zero in on only one zone. We just told him to use both sides of the plate and all his pitches, and he's got that attack mentality, and he's been awesome for us.
Not that his last outing was bad, but it seemed much. I mean, it seemed very crisp tonight. Was that the difference, just using both sides of the plate with the off speed?
Yeah, I mean, he was good last time. He just didn't throw as many innings because we kept his pitch limit down. But tonight we knew we had about 90 pitches in him. 90-95, and he literally hit that right on the nose through 5 innings. So it worked out great.